Beginning your story, your first draft, with plot and character. So let's talk about that. Dostoevsky, the Russian author, is famous for saying there's only two kinds of stories. One, a hero goes on a journey, and two, a stranger comes into town. And he was right. But whether you decide to begin with plot or character, that's up to you. Every author is different. Some like to think about the story, the plot. Other people like to create the character and then create the story around that character. There's no wrong way to do it. I've seen fantastic writers differ on that issue. There's no wrong or right way to do it. It's just about what you want to write. And if you want to begin with the plot, think about the intentions of the characters. What would their obstacles be? And what are the strategies that they're going to have to use to get around those obstacles or through them? And this will help mold the characters that you create. And then if you're going to start with the character first and then formulate the plot around them, consider showing what the character wants rather than who the character is. The character will be revealed over time as he or she pursues their goal, how they face obstacles, how they overcome them. All of that reveals to us who the character is. You can even lead with the most interesting facet of the character to hook your readers. In Alabama Irish, a boy falls in love with a girl. He meets her, falls in love, and it changes his life trajectory. How many stories out there are like that? Well, there's a lot, so let's make it interesting. Oz, the character in Alabama Irish, is an orphan from Alabama. He's a mixed martial arts instructor. He was mentored by the godfather of his town. And at 19, he goes to New York for an MMA exhibition with his mentor and the other fighters. And he meets this beautiful young woman from Nebraska living in New York, trying to make it as an actress. That's what she does when she's not in school. But she attends school at Pepperdine University in Malibu, California. She's 21 or 22, he's 19. And he admires her and he's intrigued by her and he looks up to her and he falls in love with her. There's a lot of interesting ways that story can go. If he's from inner city Alabama and she's from a cornfield of Nebraska, but now she's in Malibu, California, he knows the streets, she knows the countryside, and now she's in this beautiful landscape, this beautiful college that overlooks the ocean. Right there, you've already got a great diversity of landscapes. The cornfields and the wheat fields of Nebraska, the inner city of Alabama, the beaches of Malibu, the hustle and bustle of New York City. There's a lot to work with there. Not only that, but think about how different the characters are going to be. How different will she be than him? Very different. So let's lead with the most interesting facets about them. Think about the yin-yang symbol. It was created and is still used for a reason. We have ethical and we have unethical propensities. There's an old Native American legend. It was a saying, and I don't remember where I read it, but it was, we have two wolves that live inside us, a good wolf and a bad wolf. Well, which wolf will take over? Well, it's the wolf that you feed. Every single person in existence, you, me, we've all done things that we're proud of, and we've done things that we wish we could hide. What if you put those thoughts and those events and those qualities of life into your characters? Don't make your heroes entirely good. Make them human. Look at Clark Kent. Great guy, but if he gets in touch with red kryptonite, he turns into a bad version of himself. He's not entirely good. Clark is in love with Lana Lang, but it's not going to work out. Clark loved his earthly parents, but his earthly father died in his arms. Clark's had his heart broken many times, but he has talents and he's got a great heart, and he's Superman. He can write great stories as a journalist, and he's compassionate to people. He wants to save them. He's not always a hero in a cape. He's living a very human experience. Make your characters human. Have them lean good, have them lean bad, but make them human. Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, she was a great Civil War hero and a leader of her family, but she could never let go of her obsession with Ashley, and she ruined her reputation and she ruined her marriage over that. Let's talk about villains. The evil Emperor Nero, he's the one that set fire to Rome and had innocent people executed over it. He had a wife he loved dearly, and she died with him right there at her side. We're also told that he was a really good musician. The evil dictator Adolf Hitler won an award in World War I. He was a little bit of a military hero to the German people. He also had a German shepherd that he loved. He had a girlfriend. He had a sister who loved him very much. Give your good people imperfections, and give your evil people qualities that remind us that they're human. I saw this movie once where the villain always had a glass of wine in his hand, and I always That always stuck out to me as peculiar. Like, I know what the writer was doing. Like, yeah, you know, he's an arms dealer and he's not a good dude, but man, he really likes a glass of Pinot Noir. Well, I like a glass of Pinot Noir. The human element inside the antagonist is something that we want to see. If you put humanity, good and bad, in all of your characters, it will resonate with people. Game of Thrones is filled with this, and I think that's one of the main reasons why it's so successful. Good people and bad people doing both good and bad things. And when you see things from their perspective, you empathize with them. Yeah, in that context, I get it. But that doesn't mean you should go do it. And let's talk about creating the bad boy or the bad girl character, because that's something that's talked about a lot. In real life, you don't try to change people. You meet a bad boy or a bad girl, I don't let them inside my inner circle, but that's just me. I'm not going to try to date them and change them. I might have tried that when I was 17, but I'm not going to try that as a full-grown man. I just know better. But if that is the kind of story you want to tell, a bad boy or a bad girl changes in the end, you can tell it. It's the kind of story that we all like to see. But if you want to make it believable, the number one rule is they must have empathy and compassion for other people, even if they are in a bad place up here. They cannot not care about other people. But somewhere along the way in their life, they became jaded, and now it's the hero, usually a woman, who brings them back. If someone had a terrible upbringing and they have zero interest in empathy, compassion, they don't care about the feelings of others, I don't care what kind of work your characters do on them, there's no hope. It'll take a very deep understanding of psychology on your part to convince the readers that they truly were changed. But let me warn you about something. Readers can sniff out stories that feel forced. It's got to be believable. It's got to be real. It's got to be authentic. How do we create empathy for the antagonist, the villain? So let's talk about that. What you do is you make the audience ask, how is that person like me? We want to see ourselves in the characters. That's where it becomes personal. In Smallville, Clark Kent is a teenage boy trying to find his way through life of high school and peer pressure, friends, dating, sex, all while living in secrecy about his special gift. All of this creates empathy for Clark. And then there's the antagonist, Lex Luthor. He sees how kryptonite has caused human alterations. It's given them superpowers, and now they're a threat to their town, their city, their state, their world. Lex Luthor is afraid because if the people who have been affected by kryptonite aren't controlled, they could destroy the world. And in the beginning, Lex is a good guy. He's very kind to people. He takes up for underprivileged workers. He has a girlfriend. He becomes friends with Clark Kent. In the first 4 seasons of Smallville, we feel a lot of empathy for Lex. But as the story moves on, he comes to a place where he's okay kidnapping and killing if he thinks it serves the greater good long term. Clark's not like that. Since high school, Lex and Clark have been friends because Clark saved Lex Luthor from drowning in a car accident. Lex is from a family of multimillionaires on their way to becoming billionaires. They're involved in politics too, so as Lex and Clark get older and become adults and Lex learns of Clark's powers, Lex is not against killing Clark, but Clark is against killing Lex, and it becomes quite the story. Is your protagonist 100% good? Is your antagonist 100% bad? That's not going to work. Nobody's like that. Don't create a character that's 100% anything. When people commit evil, it's because they believe good will come from it and their own jaded, distorted perception of reality. All the evil emperors in the real world who killed innocent people throughout history, they thought a long-term goal justified it, which leads us to our final thought on this section. Your protagonist must meet his or her match in the antagonist. How boring of a story would you create if one could easily conquer the other? In Gladiator, Maximus is a war hero. He's a fired military officer who was supposed to be executed. He's a renegade, and now he's a gladiator fighting in the prison of Rome, of the empire that he was trained and dedicated his life to defending. His antagonist is Commodus, the emperor of Rome, and they've known each other since they were kids. The emperor of Rome is your enemy? Now that's a strong enemy. Good luck with that one. And guess what? It's a fantastic story.